Here we go.
Hello.
Hello. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun one. Probably the funnest one. It's not just like to let everybody know. I don't like the word, the word. I don't like
Yeah.
the word trigger because I've heard that trigger makes people nervous. Now I've said it like twice. But
Now I'm
this is the
nervous.
episode that's like
Deep. This is
and
the real stuff.
and people who have been through something traumatic, I think could feel emotions surrounding what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about the day that the dog attack happened.
Yeah. So specifically, I would say deep stuff about like dog bites, about hospitals, stuff like that.
Yeah. And just like what you were feeling and what I was feeling and the whole
Big emotions. So if you
Yeah.
don't like emotions,
If you don't like emotions, because who likes emotions? I like to avoid emotions. There's not a lot of avoiding emotions on this one.
No.
All right. So
There's
take us back to February of 2021.
So it's kind of like today, like pretty snowy but starting to melt, like slush everywhere. I don't know why.
It's sunny. I remember that.
Yeah, it's sunny.
Mhm.
I like in my head like have a brief description of like everything that was going on. Like I was gonna go to work later. I was just babysitting until like 5, and then her
Okay, wait. So you're going to babysit.
yes,
So you went to babysit,
yes,
right? So all this is like normal. Nothing happens up to this point. You're
Yep.
babysitting. You the person that you were babysitting for was having surgery.
yes,
Okay, so you drove there to be with her
son
while she was in surgery.
Yes.
I actually drove her
to surgery.
Yeah. Did you know that?
I don't think I remember.
That was at
no.
Good Shepherd. I drove her
Mhm.
down to Good Shepherd and dropped her off to go and have the surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So we knew her, or we're kind of getting to know her, I would say.
Yes.
So she wasn't just a random, I need somebody to babysit. And plus, the reason that you were babysitting specifically was because of your experience with kids on the spectrum.
Yes.
Like she needed somebody who was good with kids on the spectrum because the child that you were babysitting was on the spectrum.
Yes.
So like it wasn't just a regular babysitting job either. You were there because you were the president of Best Buddies. Like you had experience with autism. Like it wasn't a random thing.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be, this was during COVID, so he was supposed to be on Zoom classes all day, and I was supposed to like help redirect him and like get
if
him.
he like yes, right. So like there was a specific reason that it was you.
Yes. And then I had to run an errand because my mortgage charged me twice, which was so much fun.
Like the most random thing ever.
Yes, completely.
But actually, this
whole is like
thing,
all like it's important based on the story.
Okay, so you wake up in the morning and you realize, holy smokes, what happened with my bank account? You call your bank and they're like, oh, that was an error.
Yes.
We should not have taken your payment twice.
Yes.
We're writing you a check right now. Please come and pick it up.
Yeah.
So you put him in the car at lunchtime.
Yep.
Right? So he's off of his Zoom calls.
Yes.
You put him in the car at lunchtime.
It's either lunchtime or the end of the day for his Zoom because it was like
because it wasn't the full day because of COVID.
Yes.
Okay, so you put him in the car. You go.
I went to the bank.
Go to the banking.
Grabbed my check.
Pick up the check.
Went to the Jewel, which this sounds really dumb. But I thought the worst part of my day was going to be the fact that there was a guy who I turned into this intersection. I didn't see whatever. And he wanted to get out of the car and fight. Like, I thought.
Like a road rage situation?
Yes.
So, like, you're thinking, wow, this is a weird day?
Yes. And then
this guy's like.
Completely. I was like, oh, this is going to be a story to tell. Yeah.
You're like, this guy was weird.
Yes, completely. And he's flipping me off. He gets out of the car.
And you're like,
and the boy I'm babysitting said, why didn't you flip him off?
And you're like,
I'm like, we're not getting in that situation.
We're not escalating things.
It's like, you don't need to do that. Which is like kind of interesting talking about his parents, whatever. Just saying that like that's what he was modeled, that you're supposed to fight back and forth, which is just weird. But so I went into Jewel, got lunch. I got like a real good lasagna. I will never eat that again.
Because so I just remember it was something you needed to warm up, your lunch, right?
Yes.
You need to put it in the microwave.
Yes, you need to put it in the microwave. I never ate it. It was in the microwave when all of this stuff happened.
I know, and that's why I remember you telling me this part of the story, that you were warming up your food or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you went to the Jewel store. You took him into the Jewel store after you went to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
the reason you needed the check from the bank was because the bank that you have your mortgage at is different than the bank you bank at.
Yes.
Okay. I'm like, why did they not just put the money back?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay. Got it. Then you went to the jewel store, you got your lunch, then you're headed back.
Yep. Went home. We didn't say this at the beginning, but the 2 older sisters.
Yeah, so there's 2 older girls that are in high school.
We're also
high school?
High school.
Yeah, high school. Okay, so they're in high school, but they're doing their Zoom calls. You're really not there to watch them. They can watch themselves, but they cannot watch the 10-year-old because they're doing their own Zoom.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, so we went home, and they have 3 dogs. 2 of them were Great Danes, and one of them was another dog.
Okay, so like
tiny dog.
A small dog.
Yes.
So 2 Great Danes who happen to be brothers.
Yes.
And a small dog.
Yes, who I have met before.
Okay, so you met all of these dogs
I've met
before.
all of these dogs before.
And they were, but while the owner was there.
Yes.
The owner that was having surgery.
Yes.
Was there. So she was with you when you met these dogs.
And she told me before she left specifically, like, hey, you don't have to deal with the dogs. The older girls are going to deal with these dogs.
In fact, she didn't want you to deal with the dogs.
No, she didn't.
That was not part of your role. You were not supposed to let the dogs out. Nope. In fact, the dogs were supposed to stay in their kennels, right?
Completely. Yes. Okay. I wasn't supposed to touch them, said the girls would let them out in the back and then put them back.
Looking back on it, do you feel like there was something to that? Like, do you think that?
Yes.
Because... Like the way that she said it, was it like, don't touch the dogs because X, Y, and Z? Or is it just like, don't touch the dogs, I don't need you to have that responsibility?
So kind of, I don't need you to have that responsibility, but I met them last time and I was like, oh my gosh, these dogs are so great. One of them licks his paws though because of anxiety. And I was like, okay.
And she told you that?
She told me that.
It's like constant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like had a cone on the first time I met him because of
the licking.
Yes.
Because it would lick the paws until it was like open sores kind of thing?
Completely.
Okay. So like a lot of anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the second one, she said was off.
Off. She told you the word, she used the word off?
She just said off.
Okay.
And I was trying to convince her that the dog was fine. I literally was like, what do you mean he's off?
He's perfect.
He's perfect. Like, he's beautiful.
She knew something was off.
Yes.
And she said he's off.
But didn't tell me to the extent, obviously.
Maybe she didn't know to the extent. Like, I'd like to think she didn't know.
I would love to think that. The only reason, and you know what? I'll just say that for later. There's a reason why I think she knew.
Yeah. Well, she said he was off.
Yes.
So she knew something.
Yes. But there's something that the boy said.
Oh, later.
Yes.
Okay, so we're back at microwave.
Yes. So I'm warming up my food.
Where is he at this point?
He is in the living room.
The 10-year-old is in the living room.
Yes. The dogs are both out.
The dogs came out. Okay, so wait, this is kind of important.
Yeah.
So while you were out, the teenage girls let the dogs out to go to the bathroom, I'm presuming.
Yes.
And then they did not put them back in the kennel. Both of them?
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them are not in their kennels.
Around.
They're both just out because they're like, we have them out all the time. It's no big deal. What's the problem? We let them out. They probably maybe didn't know that they were supposed to always be back in the kennel when you were there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did or not.
I have no idea.
I don't know if they forgot. That part really doesn't matter. The point is the dogs were out.
Yes, the dogs were out. So I'm also texting with the mom because she didn't go into surgery yet. She's like in pre-op.
Oh, you're kind of giving her a heads up about what's going on because you had to leave the house?
Yes. So I asked her if that was okay. She said it was fine beforehand. But then I also asked, he really wants to watch this show we really like, The Flash.
Oh, right.
I really like this show and he adores it, but he's been having some nightmares from it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you wanted to check in like, hey, he wants to watch this, but I want to check with you first to make sure
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we checked in. She said it was fine.
Yeah. So you guys are going to watch an episode of The Flash together because both of you really enjoy this show.
Yep.
Is this a new this isn't a new show for you?
No, I've seen
it's like
all of it. It would be like
at that
point
point
I've already seen.
You were a little obsessed. I remember.
Yeah.
It's like Doctor Who, then The Flash. Got it. Okay. Okay, so you're watching an episode of The Flash, or was it on yet?
We just queued it up.
Okay.
I said, let me get my lunch.
Okay.
Then we'll start watching it.
And do you know where the dogs are at this point?
One of them is walking, like just around.
Like throughout the house?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other one is like bouncing from couch to couch.
In the same room you're about to go into?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because we don't talk about the names of the dogs.
Yeah.
We don't, honestly, we've never,
I've never even said what type of dog it is until...
Well, we did just now, but
I know.
And that's okay. I think that's okay because that is a question we kind of get a lot. We don't talk about the owner because we don't. It's just something we decided actually almost the day
immediately
of or after, like the day after, we decided not to do that because
people wanted reports and things, and we were like, we're not.
They really want to know like the dirt side of things, and as much as like
it's not classy.
That's our story, and our family obviously knows who it is, and people who are close to us know who it is. But this person lives in our town, and it's kind of been something that we would want the same grace extended to us.
Completely.
If there was an accident that wasn't, she didn't attack you.
No,
maybe she knew, maybe she didn't know. We're never gonna know, but deep down, it was the right thing to do, I think.
Yeah, and
because the papers wanted to know. Like, I know completely. I'm jumping ahead, like, because there's a couple articles written about this. The papers, like, the Northwest Herald really was pushing us to be like, well, what do you think about this? And I was kind of like, we're not talking about this. And I told him up front when he called me to talk about the attack. I said, like, hey, we're not even going to, like, talk about the breed.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something...
We didn't want anything to identify her.
Right. We really didn't want, like, it really wasn't that. Mm-hmm. We wanted people to know what happened, honestly, because it could happen to anyone. But I think it could happen to anyone. Looking back, it's kind of like maybe that could have been prevented. But the point is, like, we just took it not to say it. Yeah. So that's why we're not saying the name of the dog while we're having this conversation.
Yeah, that's why I know which was which, but...
Sure. And I know I'm like watching you, and I'm like, oh, she might let it fly out of her mouth. Nope. Okay, so microwave.
Yeah.
On TV show cued.
Yeah. So I like, it was still in the microwave, but I went to go sit down on the couch. He was, I think, running to grab his Legos or something like that.
Okay,
I'm not sure exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So the little boy leaves the room.
Yes.
Okay.
And then this dog. The dog.
You come back in and
sit on the couch.
So you're on the couch. You have your lunch.
I don't.
You don't. You set it in the microwave.
I set it there.
You sit on the couch. What
happens?
I'm
like kind of being like, hey, like we're ready to start this. I'll go grab my food in a minute. Like,
yep.
And I start petting this dog who is noticeably like looks like he's asleep, like looks like he's resting on this couch.
Okay, so you set your hand on the dog and was petting the dog.
Yes. And he growled a little bit, and I was like, okay, bud, like, you're okay. But I didn't stop petting him.
Okay, so the dog started growling. You were petting the dog. You cued him, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
And you said his name, right? You
said
his name. Did. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and you continued to pet him to kind of comfort him and console him.
Yeah.
Telling him, you know who I am.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
okay.
Fine, you're okay. And I couldn't tell you how much time had passed.
But in retrospect, like, you feel like maybe I shouldn't have touched the dog.
Yeah. So that was something big in therapy, was like, it's all my fault.
You felt like it was your fault because you pet the dog.
Yes.
And maybe like that might be something. Here's the thing. You're in the house. So you feel like you know the dog. Mm-hmm. So you feel like you can pet the dog. I don't ever remember as a parent ever telling you, don't pet a sleeping dog.
Yeah.
That's never been a thing. You've been forever able to put your hands on a sleeping dog in our house. Even your own dog. You have a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
You could put your hands all over it. Now,
completely.
That's your dog, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's something we need to like make sure everybody in our house knows too, because I don't think I've still probably not had that conversation, or Macyn as she gets older. And the baby you're pregnant with now. As they get older, I think this might be something that maybe we're dumb.
Well, that's what people afterwards, like, you get all of these things.
You mean like advice?
Yeah.
Like,
well, you shouldn't have pet a sleeping dog.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like,
thanks,
I
genius.
I didn't know. Like, I didn't know to tell you not to do that.
Well, even growing up around like German Shepherds, we like all the time could still pet them while they are sleeping.
Yeah, because you used to spend time at a German Shepherd breeder's farm,
completely,
like with these dogs all the time.
Yeah,
and it was never a problem.
No, never.
Okay, so you set your hand on the dog. The dog growled. You said it's okay.
I don't know how much time passed
between it's okay and it's not okay, basically.
Yeah, it's okay.
And what do you remember?
So I remember he's lying down. He picks his head up, and like it's like a snapshot. Like if you were to do like a time lapse, like photo.
Uh-huh.
He stuck his head up, and then he was on my face.
So like, but I remember you telling me, I wonder if you still remember this. Do you still see his face in your head? Do you see what he looked like? He looked at you like, I don't know you?
Or I don't see his face like he looked at me. I see his teeth.
Okay.
Like, that is constant. Like, not
even
like,
now.
Yeah.
Like, you see teeth.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you see, like, I know you've been through, like, people don't know yet, but you've been through extensive
a lot of therapy.
EMDR therapy, and it almost immediate.
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, I have emotions about it. Like, sometimes I'm fine. Sometimes I'm talking about it, and it's very matter of fact. Very much like,
because I think that's kind of how EMDR therapy works, right? They take you through all the emotional part to help you make it factual.
Yeah.
So like, you're almost talking about it like it was somebody else, like
completely.
You were watching
like,
somebody
those emotions aren't in your body anymore.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, literally, like, even my dog could be walking too fast up the stairs, and it comes back to me.
Okay. So do you feel like, I mean, compared to where you could have been, I feel like,
I was like, it's definitely better.
Really far. Yeah.
Completely. I don't think about it every single day.
Okay.
Like, and that was
something
that was happening every single
day.
So
you saw teeth, and then he was attached to
on my face.
And point to your face. Like,
I was like, here is where I remember
your cheek,
him. Yeah.
You remember him only on your cheek?
Because I could feel it through my cheek.
Oh, you could feel, like, couldn't you hear it? Or you can feel it?
I didn't hear anything.
You didn't hear anything. It was just so fast.
Yeah, it was.
So you didn't feel anything on your nose?
No, nothing.
Just your cheek. So you thought your cheek would bit and like...
Yeah. Like, okay, I was thinking about next case, like, what's happening
What do I
next.
do now?
I was like, okay, you'll get a couple stitches in your face. Literally, like, as this is going on.
Yeah.
You'll get a couple stitches in your cheek.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then also...
How does the dog get off of you?
Good question.
You don't know? You don't know what made him stop.
I know what people have told me.
What? Okay, so one of the girls told you, or
I think you told me.
Because they told me.
Because they told you. One of the girls yelled his name.
Okay. So they hear. Either are you screaming?
I think I am.
You think you are. You don't even know.
I have no idea. So like, there's
this is happening so fast, right? Like, this is happening in seconds.
It's also millions of years. Like, it sounds crazy, but like, my thoughts are going so fast at this point.
Yeah.
That like, this is where it gets a little bit really emotional.
Okay.
Does everyone know I love them?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's like the hardest part when I go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, your brain also goes, well, if I die now, will they know?
Will they know that you love us? Yeah.
And if I die now, where am I going?
You
get like all these thoughts.
And all of this is happening in like split seconds.
Completely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people don't realize why I say I love you so much now. Is because I know how fast I could be gone.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. Because like, some people, like Alec, my husband, sometimes will be like, why do you say I love you so much? Like, I get it. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't get it.
Yeah.
Because I think we were in a fight at the time.
You and me?
Alec,
I was like,
Alec and I. Which, like, is gone immediately as soon as he knows whatever.
Well,
like,
sure.
I don't even remember.
Well, you guys are working through, like, because at this point, you guys are married for 4 months that day?
Yes, that day.
Okay, so you've only been married for 4 months, but, like, some people live together before they're married. You guys are you're living together. You moved into your house that you had purchased with Alec. You moved on your wedding night.
Yeah.
So, like, you hadn't cohabitated.
Yeah.
You know that's all really normal.
Yeah.
Like, the whole first year of marriage, like, living in a new house with that person is really challenging.
Yeah. I think it was just, like, something stupid. Like, I didn't take out the trash that day. Something really dumb.
So, like, yeah, who cares, right? But you felt like that second you were in a fight.
Yeah. And I was
so everything's flashing through your mind.
Yeah. Like, even though we're in this fight,
is know?
Everything. Yeah.
Does he know?
And then it was like, do my sisters know?
Yeah.
And like, it was so long but so short. Like my brain goes back there and it's like,
Yeah.
it's just like black space.
So he's like attached to your face.
Uh-huh.
And probably only for seconds.
Yeah.
Because the damage that he did was extensive, but it wasn't like
he didn't relatch.
So he stuck on and that was it. I mean, you felt tearing.
Yes, I knew there was tearing. I knew there would be stitches. I didn't know he was shaking me at that time.
Oh yeah, because that's where the concussion comes in.
Yeah, that's where the concussion. That's where the tearing happened with my nose.
Yeah. So he's shaking your face.
But apparently,
do you remember that, the shaking part, or you just know that had to happen, or do you remember the shaking?
The way they explained it afterwards as these are tearing injuries.
Okay, so they're saying this had to have happened.
Yeah, so I had no idea he was shaking.
Do you feel like you don't remember because it was really fast, or do you feel like you don't remember because like your body wasn't able to retain it?
I think my body was in complete and utter shock.
Yeah.
That it was just focused on the big thoughts that were in my head that I didn't even realize. Like, I still, like, you close your eyes and how black it is. That's the only thing I saw.
Wait, do you think you closed your eyes?
Yes. I know
because
I did.
He came really, really close to your one
eye.
I know that. Yeah.
We were worried about that. I closed my eyes because
it was closed your eyes when it happened.
Pitch black.
Okay, so you don't see anything with this happen.
No.
And you just feel...
I just feel
latched.
Here.
Yeah.
When, like, later on we find out it's here.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know my nose was...
It must have been the top
any of it.
teeth that took the... Because of the way that, like, your scarring is and the position on your face, if you turn your head.
Yeah.
Like, this part down your cheek that you can see, that part, which has gotten so much better.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Like, you still have the dimple that's new, but that part's so much better. But coming across your face that way was how he was.
Yeah. It was like...
Because how...
Tear down.
Were you You were sitting.
I was sitting. He was coming from like an angle up, down.
It doesn't even make any sense, does it?
No.
To me, like he had to go this way.
Yeah.
To get the way that... So I think in my mind, I've always thought that the top jaw was over here on your nose.
Uh-huh.
But I think it has to be the other way. Or straight on. This way.
Yeah. I don't know what angle my face was either.
Oh, because maybe you turned too.
Yeah. Because, like, as I picture it, he's lying down and then he doesn't even lift up his back legs. He just turns his head real fast. But I don't remember it.
Was his head facing you or
it was facing away from you?
Yeah, because you had your hand on his like rear end.
Yeah.
Petting him?
Yep.
Okay. So he's latched on, she screams or yells his name.
The daughters are in the kitchen because they're making lunch.
Oh, so they saw it. They saw it?
They came in probably as soon as it happened.
So you're not in the kitchen, you're in the living room, but the living room is close to the kitchen.
Yes.
Okay, so they come running in.
Yes.
Yell the name.
Yes.
The dog then
gets off and runs to his kennel.
Releases immediately when the name, it was like it snapped out of a trance.
Yeah.
And then runs
to his kennel.
And
they
knows he's in trouble, right?
Yeah.
He knows he's in trouble.
Again, that's what I've been told.
Right.
I don't know how he got back in there.
I think I was told that.
I made sure he was back in there because I was in EMT class and I knew you put all the animals away in different places.
Well, because you know that what's about to happen. Like you're already still thinking, I'm going to need to get help now.
Yes.
Okay, so he's in his kennel.
So I get up immediately.
Yep.
And this is
So you're still sitting down?
Yes, I'm still sitting down.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I take a beat or if I get up immediately.
Well, a beat could still be a second for you.
Yeah. But I get up. I start running to the kitchen. Something that is like playing in my head all the time as I'm talking about this. A drop from my nose.
A drop?
A drop of blood from my nose.
Yeah.
Gets onto my white socks.
Like, and is that the first time you realize you're bleeding?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's immediately on my sock.
Oh.
And it's like, that was like, I think the second step I took. But it's like part of the movie that plays, you know?
Yeah.
Is
this drop that comes from your face.
And then I go
down.
straight to the kitchen and into the sink.
Yeah, so you're holding your head over the sink, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I'm grabbing paper towels. What do I think those are going to do? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess that's what you do, right?
Because I put it on my cheek first.
Thinking
and then
that's where the impact is. And there was a significant impact to your cheek.
But then blood started coming out my nose.
From where?
From here.
From there?
I still don't realize it's coming from my nose, though.
Uh-huh.
So I yell, from I don't know if I yell or if I go grab it because my phone is plugged in on the counter.
Because you're charging it.
Yes, because it was like almost dead.
Uh-huh.
I stole one of their chargers because I was like, I need a charger. And I grab my phone and I'm typing in my password because for some reason my face recognition isn't working. I don't know why.
Insult meat injury.
Completely.
Your face recognition doesn't work when you have a face injury.
Like
that was
months afterwards.
That was the weirdest part. One of the weirdest things was realizing that
it wasn't gonna work.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm plugging in my phone password. Blood is getting on my phone, so it keeps dialing like the wrong number, and I get locked out for a minute first.
I remember you telling me that you got really mad.
Well,
all you're trying to do is get help, and your phone is locking you out.
And then I go back to the sink, just trying to fix it. It unlocks. Like
your phone.
It lets me type in the password again. I get locked out for 5 minutes.
Why?
Because the same thing. If you mess up after like the 1 minute lockout.
Oh, so the blood's pouring onto your phone, and so it's messing up the numbers that you're able to push in. So it locks you out of your phone.
For 5 minutes at this point.
So then what happens?
I tell them, give me a phone. I said, someone needs to call 911. I need a phone. And they called.
Okay, so one of the girls called 911.
Yes.
And the ambulance is moving in your direction.
They're talking to me as I, on another phone, dial my husband.
Who is asleep because he had worked the night before.
I called him once, and I was like, he's not going to wake up. He's asleep.
Yeah.
I call you.
And this is like mid-morning. I could go back. I'm sure I have it. I feel like it's like, is it like 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
It's got to be like.
So I was just about to eat lunch.
So it's not morning, but it's early afternoon. Because I remember the sun not being, like, it wasn't dark. It wasn't close to dark.
It was so bright.
Yeah. Okay.
So I dial you. I know a rule with my mom. If you call on a random phone, don't stop at once.
I'm just, there's a lot going on in our house all the time. I don't have time to answer the phone and talk to people. Yeah. Thank goodness it says telemarketer now. I just ignore it.
Yeah.
So you called me once, but then from a random number, but you immediately called me again.
Yes.
And I answered because I know my kids know that if they call me multiple times from the same number, I will pick up.
So I saw the numbers going that like you picked up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally was like, Mom. And you like, I don't know if you said like yes or if you were like, what's wrong?
No, you said something like, the dog bit me.
Yeah.
And I said, you mean like
on your leg?
I said like, I said leg, or did I say
said
arm?
leg.
I said leg. You mean like on your leg? And you said
no.
And immediately I said, you mean like on your face?
And I said yes.
And you said yes.
And
I was like,
you said like half your face is gone?
That does sound like something I would say.
And
I said like half your face is gone. That's what I said.
Yes.
And
I said, I don't know. I went to the bathroom mirror and I looked and I said, yes. Like half my face is gone.
Oh yeah, I don't remember this part.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember you saying like half your face is gone.
Yeah.
And that being, nah. I was in the front hallway. Right?
Yeah.
And like I was about to take your sisters to basketball.
Yeah.
Because COVID was it wasn't wrapping up, but they were starting to let them do things again.
Yeah.
And I knew that for their sanity, like some of them had never even played basketball, but I was like, for the love, let's get them involved.
Completely.
Because they've got to do something physical. We got to get out of the house. And it was like February. So they were just starting basketball season. So they were doing conditioning for basketball. And I was going to take them to basketball. And I immediately looked at like, I don't know. It must have been Kiara.
Yeah, Kiara.
Who was going to then take them.
Yep.
She had a car. She was going to take them to basketball. I said, you got to take them to basketball. And I was coming in your direction.
Yes.
Because you were like, the ambulance is on its way.
Yeah, because at this point, I'm talking to you, but I'm also like yelling things to the 911 operator. They tell me to put like a literal bath towel on my nose.
Yeah.
And
did they know? Like, were you able to tell them how bad it was?
I don't know. Even when I was talking to you, I don't know if I was making complete sense because I was like,
well, you were getting out. It was sort of like matter of fact conversation. Like, this is a matter of fact. A matter of fact is the ambulance is on its way. And I said, you
like
said
you're going to hunt. I think I said
I'm going to Woodstock. You were like, we can't say that. But let's not say that.
Yeah.
But Woodstock was closer.
Yes.
You were in Woodstock.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so then that's it. We
Yeah.
hang up. I tell you I'm going to get Alec.
Yes.
Because I knew
We only
Alec
had
was
one
sleeping
car.
and you had one car at the time. And we knew he was sleeping and I knew I needed to get him to you.
Yes.
So, and furthermore, to make things more complicated, I was worried about what they were going to do about the kids because now the only caregiver, well, kids, meaning kid, the one kid,
Yeah.
the only caregiver for this child is about to have to leave.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe I should just go over there. I'll take Alec. He can be with you. I will watch the kids.
Yeah.
Until somebody in their house, because their mom is in surgery.
Mhm.
She's knocked out at this point.
Completely.
Maybe I can be with them so that I needed you to be able to leave.
Yes.
So okay.
So while I'm in the kitchen though, this is the thing I was going to say that the boy was saying that like makes me think like maybe something just makes me think.
During this time.
They're going to put down the dog.
He was upset because he was worried that the dog was going to be put down.
Yes.
We're talking about a 10-year-old autistic boy, so
they had a conversation about it
in their house. Well, I know they had a conversation about it because the dad later told me that was already discussed. Like, and I don't know, the way he made it sound though, just so you know, is more like we've always had kind of an open dialogue that if our dogs ever did anything to humans, if they ever do anything to humans, that the humans matter more than the dog.
Yeah.
Okay, that we have that rule too, right? Like
of course.
An animal is an animal, and I would never put especially my grandkids in a situation where a dog could hurt them, even unknowingly in a way. Like running into them is one thing, but like never even a nippy puppy. That's not okay. So
I think like the emotions around that though is that he's yelling, they're going to kill the dog, and I'm in the kitchen, blood pouring out of my face, going, I'm okay.
Like you're trying to pacify him and tell him it's okay.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm asking for.
Because he ran into his room.
The boy did.
Yes, so he must have seen something. I don't know how much.
Sure. And like in a perfect world, he would have seen nothing.
Yes.
And you would have been able to prevent that.
Mm-hmm.
But like ultimately, how would you even known? Like you couldn't like that.
Like I still don't know.
Sometimes there's just stuff that kids see and you don't ever mean for them to see it, and that's just kind of what happens. And the way that I remember you on the phone because I could hear you. You're like telling him, "No, it's okay, it's okay." I remember you during this entire time. You cared more about the people that you were talking to than what was really happening with you.
Yeah, because by the time
everyone that came in contact with you, you cared more about how they felt about it.
Oh yeah, I was cracking jokes in the ambulance because I was like, we need to lighten this mood.
Oh, I know, because I was on the phone with you when you were in the ambulance. Okay, so he says this thing about the dog.
And I'm telling him it's fine. I'm also like, I got this big bath towel that they want me to put on my nose, and I try it once. I put it on my face, and then the feeling of I need to breathe came. I had to lower it, and Velcro.
Ew.
Yeah. Velcro.
Did it take parts of your...
I don't know. I know it took clots off of my face.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
So I just hold it under my chin.
Yeah, to keep the blood from pooling on the ground.
Yeah.
How fast do you think, how fast did the ambulance get there?
So they were at Woodstock at the time.
You mean they were at the hospital?
Yeah, they're at the hospital at the time.
So that was pretty fast, I bet.
But
okay,
they were trying to transfer someone out.
Oh.
So it took a good probably 10, 20 minutes.
Wow.
I know this because you told Alec. He called me immediately. I was like, yeah, I'll let you know where I'm going. I'm not sure where I'm going right now, but I'm going to go either to Woodstock or to Huntley.
Yeah.
And as like that conversation's going on, the 911 operator's making sure we have all of the other dogs away, everything like that.
Yeah.
All the dogs in general.
Yeah, that's their job.
I start getting my shoes on.
Yeah.
And start getting my jacket on.
Yeah.
And like as I'm like trying to process everything else that's going on, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to walk out. I don't know why. I wanted to be...
You want to go outside?
Yeah. I wanted...
Get out of the space for a minute?
I wanted to not have them come in because I thought it was going to be another thing for these kids to have to see.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to walk out there. So when they finally do arrive, start trying to bring in the stretcher through the snow. Like
You're like, stretcher, here I am. I'm going to walk out. How about that?
Yeah, I was like, how about I go out there?
And what do they say?
They say, okay.
Yeah, sure.
I have this huge towel.
Yeah.
My backpack's still in there. I don't even realize. And then I remember.
Well, your car's in the driveway.
And Alec told me, if you can at least get the keys in the car.
Yeah, I think I remember him. Okay, so after. So let me get you into the ambulance. Yes. Right? They put you in the ambulance.
Well,
Go ahead.
The EMTs were like, we can put the keys in the car. I was like, I'm doing it.
I need to.
This
was the thing you told him you would do. So, yes.
Okay. So I opened the door,
and none of us know that. None of us know to help you because we don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But we knew that you had a car there and that he needed to move in a direction. We didn't know where you were going to land that night. We just knew that he needed to have transportation. I needed to have transportation.
Completely. Yep.
Okay. So
then I finally get into the ambulance.
So then you're in the ambulance and you're in the driveway.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to pause your side of the story there. Yep. You're in the ambulance. You're in the driveway. I start driving to your house to pick up Alec. I call him on the phone. He doesn't answer. I call him on the phone. He doesn't answer. A third time, I think it might have been the second or the third time I call him and I tell him before I even talk to him, I talk to Chan.
Yes.
Chan
is trying to calm me down?
No. She's trying to figure out where she should go. She doesn't know where she's going, right? So like Chan's my best friend.
Because Dad's out of town.
Your dad's in Portland. Chan knew that something was going down and needed to leave. I can't remember if she was at her house that day. I don't think she was, though. I think she was in Crystal Lake at her office. So she starts leaving her office to drive, she thinks, to Woodstock. That was in the house that I was doing that, throwing my shoes on, trying to get Alec. I called Alec. Alec didn't answer, did answer. I said, I'm coming to you right now. Get your crap together because Kellen's been bit by the dog and I need to take you there. He's like, okay. I'm in the car while I'm doing this because this is over my speaker in my car. I can remember that part. You call me.
Yes.
You called me. You're in the ambulance, right? You call me and you say,
they're going to take me to Huntley because they said they did all my vitals. Everything was fine. And then they said, can you lower
the towel?
The towel. Because they finally put gauze on there. Can you lower it? I said, yes. They said, can you breathe out your nose? And I said, yes. And I try. And blood comes out the top of my nose, specifically like right here, flying out.
Yeah.
So I wasn't breathing through my nose.
So Woodstock's like not a high enough level trauma situation.
Yeah.
So you ended up going to Huntley. You called me.
Okay,
you called me and said they're taking me to Huntley. But there was something else that was wrong in the house.
He's having an anxiety attack.
Okay, so the 10-year-old autistic boy starts having an anxiety attack.
They won't let me leave until there's another ambulance.
Okay, you didn't tell me that part. You're thinking that part, but you told me he's having an anxiety attack.
Because
you did mention,
one of the girls.
Okay, wait. You might have told me this part because you might have said they're calling another ambulance. Okay, yes. Because okay, so you said they're calling another ambulance. They're taking me to Huntley. They're calling another ambulance. I called Chan back because you've now told me you're going to Huntley. I have Alec in the car. And I remember screaming my head off. My only reaction at this point was so much anger that nothing was going right about the situation. I was so mad that I wasn't mad at the 10-year-old. That wasn't it. That had nothing. I was not at all mad at him for having an anxiety attack. I'm sure what he was going through was horrible. I was mad that nothing was going right. I just remember screaming, can anything go right? Poor Chan is just in the car now driving instead of to Woodstock to Huntley because she knows I'm about to lose my freaking mind. And I don't actually know if that's exactly the time that I'm screaming, but I know I'm screaming at some point because I just remember, I think at one point she thinks to herself, I don't think she should be driving.
Yeah. I mean, the second, so before I even told you, the reason I knew, because she brought out my backpack, one of the girls, and said, I think he needs an ambulance. He's having an anxiety attack. And me, even in my seat, goes,
what now?
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you're in the ambulance. I show up with Alec. Now, here's the thing. I don't realize that you're in the ambulance because you told me they're going to call another ambulance. So I think automatically they've taken her. She's gone.
And I can see you.
And I don't know that.
Yeah.
I never knew that you were still in that ambulance. So I go up to the door. I knock on the door. There's a cop inside the house because the cop is like securing the situation, right? I'm like, I'm here for the kids. There was cops there. I went in. I don't think it was a paramedic. I think it was a cop because I think all the EMT paramedics were with you. I actually think there was a full fire truck there.
At one point, I know there was.
I saw that.
I was leaving.
Yeah, there was. Yes. I go up. I'm like, you guys can, like, I'll watch the kids. It's fine. And they're like, no, we're not going to have you do that. And I was like, okay, well, I just want to make sure like this is taken care of so that, this isn't a holdup. Whatever needs to happen, I'm here to help.
I'm smiling because as you're in there, the dad texts me, hey, I'm going to be there at like 5:30.
And you're like, that could be a situation.
And I said, call my mom. And I gave him your number.
Okay, so I talked to him. I'm standing close to the door.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to scooch back a little bit. I'm standing close to the door, but I'm not at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not inside the house. I'm just standing, like, at the entrance,
mm-hmm.
right? And he calls me on the phone, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Should I stay with the kids? I can stay with the kids. I don't know what to do. And I know that the 10-year-old is not in that ambulance, but I expect that ambulance is for him.
Yeah.
Because I don't know you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at some point, if I would have known that you were in that ambulance, I would have gone up to the ambulance and talked to you and seen you with my own eyes.
When like the EMTs were opening the door and like you were walking by, I wanted to be like, Mom.
Right, because I didn't even know you were there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like that's like I remember thinking, wait, she was there the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, so the dad starts coming home.
Yep.
They say they're staying with the kids. I can go to Huntley.
Yes.
I think at that point they're like, we're transporting her to Huntley. And I'm like, what do you mean you're transporting her to Huntley? Because they started moving you, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, she's right there.
Yeah.
She was there the whole time.
Yeah.
This is like that weird snapshot point of like, how did I not know?
And then
Alec gets in
Yep.
your car, warms it up to be able to go to Huntley with you, right?
Yeah.
During COVID. That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in the ambulance, you're leaving. The kids are with the police. The police are staying there till the dad gets there. The mom is still in surgery. You're FaceTiming Kiara?
Yes.
You FaceTime Kiara.
Kiara was the first person to see it.
So Kiara is your identical twin?
Yes.
And she's at the house. She had just taken the kids to basketball.
Yes. I think she actually still might be driving at this point, which
we'll pretend they were all,
the
other ones were holding the phone.
Yes.
But I mean, this is just back, it's a very quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I sent
Not
her.
that matters, but.
I immediately, did I message everyone or did I just message Kiara?
I don't really know how this happened.
It was like, because I messaged her a photo of my nose covered up.
Yeah, this was a big part. This is a big part of the story for her because you guys are identical twins. And I think she immediately felt like we are not identical twins anymore.
Yeah.
And that was a
big moment.
That was a big moment for her.
Yeah.
Like, you're not thinking about any of that because you're just thinking, I'm in an ambulance. And she's thinking, oh my gosh.
We don't look
our
alike
entire
anymore.
Identity has just changed.
Yeah, completely. So I send her a photo of it covered up, and then she's like, I was like, you want to see it? And she's like, yes. So I sent her.
Because she's also in the medical field at this point. She works at the hospital with you.
Yeah. So I sent it to her.
Nothing is scary.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I sent it to her, and then I think I immediately FaceTimed her, and I went, it's bad. And she's
I remember you telling me
it
was bad. She said, I know.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, it's bad. Said, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And she's just like, it'll be okay. Everything's fine. Like, trying to reassure me, and I'm like, no, it's not. But also, like, I'm lighthearted at this point still because I'm like, it'll be fine. It'll be great. Everything's gonna be fine. Because if I was gonna go down like already, we would have like this process would have been so.
You
much
mean
longer.
you? Okay, so like you felt at one point that you could die, and at this point, I'm not gonna die.
Yeah.
Like I'm there with me.
Yeah.
Somebody who can take my vitals is with me.
Yeah.
They're like if I code at this point,
yeah,
they're right here.
The only thing that's high is my blood pressure at this point. Like, because I was looking at the numbers, I was like, my blood pressure's high, but otherwise, all my other vitals are fine.
Yeah.
And they wanted to give me like, I think fentanyl. I think they wanted to give me IV fentanyl,
some sort of medicine to,
and they couldn't find a vein because I didn't drink water at all. I
Okay.
had a monster in the house that got brought to the ambulance that they didn't let me take.
Okay, so they're trying to put an IV in you to give you some pain meds,
and it wasn't working. And I said, I don't need them right now. I didn't feel any pain.
Adrenaline was okay.
I was like, I don't feel any pain. I'm fine.
Okay, so Alec is coming. The ambulance leaves. The fire truck leaves. I remember there was a lot of fire personnel and police personnel on that road.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I know that is because I know there's snow on the ground,
mm-hmm.
and it didn't feel like there was a lot of parking available.
Yeah.
So they were all lined up on that road. And you leave. You go to Huntley. Alec leaves. He goes to Huntley. I leave. I go to Huntley.
Can I tell you the best part of that ambulance, though?
What?
So the EMTs are telling the charge nurse what's happening.
Yeah.
And
at Huntley.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you hear, like, on the other line, what do you mean her nose is half on, half off?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, well, you just have to see it. And you can hear the charge nurse getting mad at him.
Because she wants them to describe
it better.
Yeah.
And
did they send a picture?
No, not to Huntley.
Okay.
Chicago was different. But as soon as I think she hung up on him, and he goes, ugh, and knocks his clipboard down. And I go, so who are we mad at? Like, basically, like, who do I need to punch? Like, who are we mad at? Well, the charge nurse doesn't understand. I'm like, okay. He's like, so when you get there, you got to lower it.
So that she understands.
I was like,
it's going to
works for me.
Yeah.
I was like, of course I'll do that. And it was just us joking around because I was like, how that kind of is what it is. I don't think you could describe it better.
Like you said, it's half on, half off. And in retrospect, he could have described the bridge.
The bridge of it is off.
The bridge of it is gone, but the tip of the nose is still there.
Yeah.
Like the integrity of your nose, thankfully, was still there. Because I've seen people who had their entire nose taken off by a dog, and it's really hard to reconstruct the tip of your nose.
Yeah. I was like, I have friends who it's still not perfect yet.
You have friends because of this.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to Huntley. You get into Huntley.
Mm-hmm.
Alec comes in with you because I think we could only have one person in with you. COVID.
He is up front, and I say, my husband's here because I got a text that he's here. But he says, they won't let me back. I said, you need to let my husband back.
Okay,
and
so
they're like,
saying, I need my support person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, we need to like stabilize you first. I'm like, he needs to come back here.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
He works at the hospital too.
I was like, we both work here.
Yeah, you both work there. He had actually worked the night before.
Yes.
But not in their floor, obviously.
Yeah.
They didn't know him.
Yeah, no.
They didn't know him to sit. Yeah, now they do. Okay, so they let him back?
Yes. And
I'm on the phone with you a lot, but I'm not allowed in because of COVID. They're only letting one person in with you.
Yeah.
Which was one of the most frustrating things, was that if you had been younger, I would have been in there.
Yes.
Then again, Alec wouldn't have been in there. And I knew, like, I just kept thinking consciously, this is one of those decisions as a mom where you step back and the husband needs to be the one in the room. And even though I'm like, no, I want to be in there, I needed to let Alec be the person.
Yeah. And I think one of the scariest things was him coming in. I was like, what's his reaction going to be?
Yeah.
Like, what's he even going to think of this? And he just came in and he like kissed me on the forehead and was like, it's going to be fine.
I know.
And I was like, why are you so chill? This is not a time to be so chill.
He was really never like disgusted by like how changed you were in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
Like looking back on it, you guys were really young in your marriage.
Yes.
And yet did he ever make you feel not beautiful?
No.
Never.
He
I never saw it on my end, but
even he waited till they cleaned it off, but he even kissed the other cheek that wasn't affected.
Well, yeah, because you couldn't kiss the other one.
Yeah, because it was swollen.
Yeah, it looked like ground chuck. Okay, so Huntley then immediately starts the process of.
Well, first they clean it.
Okay, so
they have
want
to send photos.
So they started taking photos of what the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. So first they clean it. They don't realize I can't breathe out of my nose. So they are basically
because of the clots, or because
I couldn't breathe
not attached
through it at all.
Right,
because they think my nostrils here when my nostril, if I were to be able to breathe, was up here.
Yeah.
So they're pouring water on my face.
Waterboarding you.
Yeah, pouring.
Yeah.
And
they didn't realize.
Hit the side of the bed rail
because
I didn't realize it either until it was happening. And they stop and look at me, wondering what the heck is happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't breathe.
Hey, wait, one question I just thought of. When you came in the ambulance bay, was it like an episode of ER? Were there like tons of people everywhere all the time?
And I asked
fast?
I asked the EMTs that before.
You asked the EMTs, is it going to be?
I asked it in both ambulance rides.
Yeah, because we haven't even gotten the second ambulance ride. But the first ambulance ride, you said,
are people going to surround me?
Swarm me.
Yeah.
And they said, yes?
They said, yeah.
That was such an interesting question to ask. I bet nobody asks that kind of question.
Because I watch
No, but I think that's a good, set the expectation question for yourself, especially. I
was like, so is everyone going to attack me? Not really like that, but. And they were like, yeah.
They're going to come fast.
They're going to come fast. I was like.
Your airway is affected.
I was like, okay, bring it on.
Okay, so they're cleaning. Alec is with you. Right?
You're on the phone still. They're sending photos.
Yeah, because that was the one thing I could do was be on the phone.
They're sending photos, but they're not waiting for a reply. They said...
Well, no, they had to wait for a reply because they had to know who was going to take your case. Because we're close enough to Chicago that I think they expected you were going to Chicago, but they didn't know where. Because we have so many hospitals in Chicago that could have taken your case.
It was going to be Northwestern Medicine or Great Shepherd. Or Good Shepherd.
Good Shepherd?
No, Lutheran.
Lutheran General?
Yeah.
Well, Lutheran General's not even all the way down. I think they're in Park Ridge. But my point is that they took photos and started shopping your case is what your doctor eventually told us, is that they started shopping your case to find out who could even handle it.
And they said in Huntley, they were like, so we're not going to do a CT. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to get you out of here.
You're basically getting stable and getting you out.
Yes.
No, I think it was too cold for a helicopter. Somebody did, I think at one point there was talk of a helicopter and they decided against the helicopter, maybe because you were so stable.
Yeah.
So you're at Huntley for I would say about an hour.
They said it was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Because as the new ambulance is coming,
because it's a transport ambulance service that comes. It's not.
I think it was Superior.
Yeah, they come in and they're a transporter. They're not a city. The city ambulances don't do that because of how much time that takes.
As Superior is coming in, the CT people are coming in
to do your
because I still had a CT ordered.
Yeah,
they just said they weren't.
But
doing
they said
it.
We're canceling it.
And
we're sending you out.
At the CT people I don't think we're doing that.
Yeah. Okay, so nobody asked for a CT before. They said, Britt, send her.
Send her.
So Northwestern Chicago said, send her. We have a doctor.
Yes.
And we were told later that was the only doctor that felt
comfortable taking my case.
Comfortable taking your case. And that doctor's name is Dr. Seidel. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Seidel has a lot of practice. I remember him telling us, gosh, do you remember that first visit with him?
No, because it was the one.
No. I mean the actual first visit when he took us into his into his office and started showing us the photos of all of the cases. I was not ready to see that. No. He was showing us pictures. So he has a lot of history working with people with skin cancer, where they take out these huge scoops of skin cancer, for lack of that's a gross word for skin, but takes out but because if you think about it, that's kind of the same injury that you had in a way, because they had to take out these big melanomas and they leave these holes right here. And so he was showing us all these photos of how he fixes those and what that process looks like. I remember that. So Dr. Seidel said he would take you get sent down, to I hit my mic. Sent down to Northwest Chicago. Alec follows you.
So Alec is driving.
Yeah.
But he calls his mom.
Oh, right.
And his mom
took him down there.
Yes.
Because he wasn't sure, what does this look like? Am I staying?
It wasn't that. It was because he called his mom, and his mom was like, you are not driving there. Because although my husband is not a very emotional man, he was freaking out.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. And he'll say, like, till the end of the days, he wasn't. But he was very clearly, like, racing through his thoughts with his mom, like, telling him, and I don't know what's going to happen, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And his mom was like, where are you?
Yeah.
I think he was, like, close to a train station. I know that.
Oh, you mean he'd already started to go?
Yes.
And she said, stop?
Said, stop. Stop where you are. I will take you. I will meet you where you are.
Yeah.
And it'll be fine.
That was so good.
Yes.
But also, like, I guarantee she knew at that point, or at least assumed, that there was no way she was going to see you. There was
no,
like, COVID, like, that was got to be the worst part of COVID for support people, was just that they wanted to be supportive, and it was taken from us in a way. Like, we weren't able to be the support person that we would have been used to being as a family.
Yeah.
Not that we would have, like, brought down tons of people and bombarded you, but, like, it would have been nice to have seen you that day.
Yeah, completely.
Because I was on the phone with you.
And I asked them, I think, multiple times. I was like, any leniency with this policy? Because...
And they're like, no.
They're like,
no, especially down there. Like, Huntley would have been more lenient, and they weren't, but they would have been more lenient than Chicago at that point, for sure. Because the cases in Chicago were way higher than Huntley.
Well, and they had COVID rooms at that point, so I kid you not. You know, poster board, the classic poster board? Like the ones you put
plexiglass stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's how the rooms were, like, divided, because they need more rooms.
Oh, right.
So I was in literally
This is when you got to Chicago.
Yes, once I got to Chicago.
So here's the weird part, though. On the way to Chicago, I called you. Okay, so I had talked to the dad again.
Okay, specifically, the part you're going to talk about is when I am leaving the Huntley ambulance bay.
Yeah, you're leaving the Huntley ambulance bay. Yes. I hear sirens. Like, you are lights and sirens to Chicago at this point, which is, like, on a good day, no traffic, probably, I don't know, hour, 20 minutes downtown. I don't know. I'm looking at Sean. What do you think? Hour 20 to Chicago from Huntley? Yeah. Like an hour and a half. Lights and sirens, it's probably about an hour.
It took a little bit longer because people wouldn't stop. And I literally said in that ambulance, so should I come out and show them?
Like, we mean it. We're not joking. Yeah. Okay, so I had then talked to the dad, and he told me in that call that the decision to put the dog down had already been made.
Yes.
That he was picking up the mom who was in surgery, going and getting the dog and putting the dog down the same day. And, like, as your mom, I felt like, in a way, there was a bit of relief there, because on my end, I was like, thank goodness I don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
And not that I would fight them about it. It's their dog. But all I'm thinking, like, was, hey, let's prevent this from happening to a 10-year-old.
Yes. Because
that could kill him.
Yes.
And once it's happened once, it's like, please make the right decision on this. Please don't make this harder on us than it already is. And he said, like, I mean, obviously they were so apologetic, and he was so apologetic, and he said the decision's already been made. And I called you and told you that. And I did, man, what was I thinking?
You had no idea my reaction.
I had no idea that your reaction, what did you think? I called you and I said the decision for the dog's already been made. I said the dog's already been put down. You said, what's going to happen to the dog?
I said, it's my fault. The dog doesn't need to be put down.
Why did you think it was your fault?
Because I pet the dog.
Right.
So, like, through therapy, I know it's not my fault. But at that time, that was so ringing in my head. I did this.
Yeah.
So I said, before you even told me, I was like, it's not my fault. And is he okay? Like, not the dog, being the boy I was watching.
Yeah.
And
you told him that the dog was not going to be put down. I remember you telling me.
Yeah.
You said, I told him the dog's not going to be put down. And I said, Kellen, the dog's already been put down. And this is like 5:00.
Yeah.
5:30, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I started, like,
No, you started
Freaking.
screaming
Yeah.
in the ambulance, like upset to the point where like the EMTs in the ambulance
told me
were
to
like,
get off the phone.
Yeah, told you to get off the phone.
Because I was ripping my face open more.
I had no idea that you were going to, I thought I was giving you good news.
Yeah.
Like, I thought this is like, at least, like maybe it was the least of your worries at that moment. I don't know how much of your worries it was.
Yeah.
But for me, all I was thinking was your dad's going to put that dog down if they don't. And let's hope that dog gets put down because I'd already talked to Dad at that point. And I think Dad was already saying like, now thank goodness in retrospect that your dad was in Portland.
Yeah, I agree.
Not that he was going to hurt these people or that dog really, but I think that
it would have
because as a parent, when you can't do anything to make the situation better, sometimes the things that you start thinking about are not helpful, but it feels like the only way you can help. Yeah. So anyway, so they put the dog down. You're on the way down to Huntley.
They finally give me, I think they gave me
some sort of
one dose was in Huntley was fentanyl, and then another was dilaudid in the ambulance because they wanted me to calm down for the most part. And then at that point, I started feeling some pain in my face because I was ripping my face open more, of course. They were like, do you need any pain medicine? I was like, yeah, it'd probably be smart. And they already had fluid, like IV fluids.
Yeah.
So I was like, they don't need to open another IV. They don't need to do whatever. So I was like, yeah, that would be helpful.
So so you arrive at Chicago.
Yes. And the same question, are they going to swarm me?
And they expected yes.
Said yes.
But did it really feel like swarmy or no? When you arrived at Chicago, did it feel like people swarmed you?
It felt like I walked into a party and I wasn't acknowledged at all.
Like, because as it turns out, when you showed up in Chicago, you were not the biggest problem.
Yeah. And I was like, I felt gypped almost. I was like, no one cares.
Like, okay,
like, this is
a healthy dose of like maybe this isn't a huge problem.
Yeah.
But you expected on your way there that you were going into surgery that night.
Yes.
But I think they already knew in Chicago you were not going into surgery that night.
Well, they didn't know until later because she kept sending like when they cleaned it up even more and more, they sent more photos to the surgeon who was on call at the time, who frankly would have loved to come down.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
The next day he told us that he would have wished that he could have come and done he was at not a Christmas party. He was at a party, a work event, some sort of party that he was like, he told us the next day when I was up there with you the next day, finally getting to see you. He said, I would have loved to have left that party early to come do a surgery.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, you did not go to surgery that night because they said,
we need the skin to declare itself. We need to see whether the bacteria in the dog's mouth is going to create a bigger infection.
Right. And putting it all back together that night could have been a much bigger problem because we could have trapped. And anybody who has the unfortunate history of a dog attack knows that they do not usually close a wound that is a dog wound immediately. They wait.
And
so you get to Huntley. Sorry, I'm going to keep backtracking a little bit. Good. You get into Chicago, but we still have the unfortunate handling of the stitches that are going to need to happen to your face.
Well, before they even do stitches, I have to get into CT.
Oh, right, because they need to check the structure to see if you're crushed.
The
bones?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the one time that the CT guy was coming in, the doctor was in, so he said, okay, we need to talk for a minute, come back.
Yeah.
And then it was 4 hours later that the CT guy finally came back.
Because of what was going on in Chicago, because there's a lot happening.
Yeah. And I was like...
It's a big ER.
Yeah. So I was basically waiting. At this point, my husband was with me, but I told him, I was like...
Go home.
Go home. There's nothing you can do anyway.
Because now we're talking like that is late into the night.
Yeah. I think it was at least 11 when I told him that.
I think so too. So he goes back to his mom. His mom takes him home.
Yes, because his mom is waiting.
I never came to Chicago that night. No. Because why?
What were you going to do?
What was I going to do? I was able to be with you on the phone the entire time, but what was I going to be able to do?
Yeah.
And they came in and they did the CT.
Yep.
They said that there's nothing there for the bones in your nose.
Yeah.
Right. The part of your nose that could be broken because obviously it's gone.
Yeah. Is completely missing. Yeah.
Is completely missing. It's gone. Wait, I think he even ate bone fragments.
Yes.
There's parts of the bone that were in your nose that
are gone.
Gone. Like, were never found. It wasn't like you found them, picked them up. Gone. Now, be it, those are small bones, so you wouldn't have found them anyways. They start stitching your face. I'll never forget this. I'm on the phone with you. It's like the middle of the night. Uh-huh. The woman that comes in to stitch your face is like a
intern.
Okay, so she's an intern, but I'm not very versed in doctor things, but I think that means she's like been there for 4 years.
Yeah.
So like she's doing her residency, right?
Yes.
Like she's a resident.
She's
not an intern, she's a resident.
Yes.
Okay, so she's doing her emergency medicine residency, and so it's not like she's ever done a stitch before.
Yeah.
She's done many stitches.
Yes.
In fact, for what it is, she did a good job. But she would get started, and
that stupid little beeper.
She had like a pager, and she'd have to leave.
Yes.
So she would put the lidocaine in. Is it lidocaine?
It is lidocaine.
Okay, it's lidocaine. So she'd stick in your cheek the lidocaine.
Yep.
And then do a couple stitches.
And go.
And then have a page and have to leave. And then come back a half an hour later.
And some of those were my doctor. So some of those I'm like, okay, fine. Some of those were a cancer patient that came in with like something on his face that needed to be removed.
Okay. So there was another person. Like she got pulled away for other people that happened to be less stable than you. Which happens.
She happened to tell me that.
Oh, so she
told me it was a cancer patient that needed something removed. That came into the ER for it.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I'm going to throw your pager against the wall.
You were just frustrated. Well, how many times did it happen where she had to get up and leave?
At least 5.
5 times.
So that's re-injecting the lidocaine every time.
Yeah, it was the lidocaine, right? Every time. And the lidocaine hurt worse than
the actual stitches.
So I remember you telling me, Mom, I'm done with the lidocaine. I'm just going to tell her to stitch.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy cow. That is some... So you're like, no lidocaine, just do the stitches. How many stitches?
She at least did another 20.
No, but how many total did you get? Do you know? I was told it was over 100.
It was over 100. I don't know exactly. I think she said around 130.
To put back the part of your cheek.
Yeah, cheek.
The cheek tearing. Were they internal stitches? Obviously, they were.
No, they were all external because the cavity that was left there,
right?
She didn't even touch.
Right. So, and then, so she does 130 stitches and then says, all right, go home.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were even talking about, well, when these stitches are done, the ER doctor, well, when these stitches are done, you'll go home.
And I was so mad. And I told you, you're not going home.
I just said multiple times, I was like, they can't make me.
Well, right. Because like we were really worried about the next day, like the swelling and what that was going to look like the next day. And nobody was with you now because everybody had gone home.
I was like, my husband's...
There was no way to bring you home. And we were like, no, we're going to pause. And I'm glad we did because we didn't know. I mean, it's nothing had ever happened, but we didn't know that you can actually say, no, I'm not going home. You have to admit
we looked it up that night.
Actually, so Sherry Rice was with me and she works in a hospital and she's like, actually, you can say no. You can say no and they have to hold you. They did not fight us on it. They did admit you. It wasn't a problem. But
it was me saying it a couple times to be like,
I'm not going home. She didn't have a ride and you didn't have a ride. And
I kept blaming it on that, but that wasn't the reason.
We needed to take a minute in a way. Like you needed to be in a safe spot for a minute. By the time they were done with you though, with the stitches, it was well into the morning.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
You had not slept. You had not.
Yeah,
nothing.
And the ER doctor was like, well, normally with face injuries, we send you home. And I'm like, no, it's not happening.
I don't think you understand what I've just been through. Well, and they didn't even mention the word concussion until days later.
Yeah.
Like you had a concussion.
Oh, yeah.
Like you needed to be on pain meds. You needed to be. I also just felt like you hadn't even seen your doctor yet.
Also, I didn't know how to clean it.
Sure.
Like if I wasn't there, they weren't going to tell me how to clean it.
They were just going to send you on your way.
Yeah.
Because that's their job. I get it. Like, they're emergency medicine. Like, your sister works in emergency medicine. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so they admit you at, like, 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm. I finally get up to the unit, and I can tell it's, like, a short stay unit. It's like a you don't really need to be monitored unit.
Yeah.
But I finally got into the room, and I was like, I don't know why I was like, this is small.
It was, yeah.
It really wasn't. It was like an average room, but I was like, everything that was going on, I was like, this is small. This is dark. This is small.
I think for this part of the story, I think that this is kind of where we're gonna pause because everything is stable here, right? The next day, just like brief overview, the next day that there is a doctor that comes and sees you, so it is good that you stayed.
Yeah.
One of the doctors from Dr. Seidel's team, which we called him Dr. Hotshot.
Yeah.
But I don't even know his name. He was guns blazing. He was cool. He was a cool guy. You could tell he was like young and excited about this weird case for them because they see all these cancer patients. They don't usually see anything that comes out of the ER. And he did tell us, he did validate, like he was like, you guys can stay another night even. Because he was like, no, this is not nothing. This is something.
Well, even when I went to the nurses on the floor, I was like, yeah, they were gonna send me home. All of them looked at each other like, what? Why
were you sending her home?
How were they? What?
It feels like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think looking back on it, I know we talked about this in episode 1 just a little bit, like with all of this is a heavy topic for you.
Yeah.
And I don't think you could talk about this even 3 years. Is it 3 years later?
Yeah.
One.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
almost 4.
Yeah. Without the amount of therapy that you had.
Yeah. I was like that little crying part that I had, that would have been the whole time. And that was the whole time for a long time.
Well, we didn't even talk about it. Really, we didn't. I didn't try to like take you through. I would have never tried to take you through the hard part.
Well, we got we got into therapy like a week.
So yeah, you were in EMDR therapy at, I think it was 10 days, but
yeah,
it might have been 10 days. You were already home by that point. Home to your house, not my house. You started EMDR therapy after you had gone back to your house, which is a whole next part of the story kind of thing.
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I remember when I started
being at my house.
Do you remember I remember being at your house, but it's like okay, I was there.
I think it was 3 days. I think it was only 3 days that you were at my house.
Yeah. Felt like a lot longer.
I just remember, we're going to save this part, actually. Yeah. I think this part's important to kind of talk to in depth because I think the aftermath part of it for our family and like what had happened to you when a family goes through that whole part, what had happened to you happened to all of us in different ways.
Yeah. It's like a earthquake. Like, you have the point where it starts, but it branches out.
Right. And like it happened to you, but it felt like we were all going through something together. And in some ways, I think some families break apart at that point. Like they talk a lot about statistics of having gone through trauma with kids and how marriages, like there's like a really crazy number of like if your child has cancer, like it's like 80% of marriages are destroyed over that. Or I don't have that statistic in front of me, but you get the idea. It's like a lot of families break apart, but our family did not break apart. No. Our family in some ways was enriched.
I think so.
Your marriage did not break apart.
No.
In some ways it was enriched.
Yeah.
And I don't know what makes, I do question that. What makes our family
different
come together instead of fall apart?
I think that's kind of always how we've been though. If there's been like even previously with like the diagnosis of narcolepsy, like did we fumble? Yeah, but we all were there.
Maybe actually that might actually have been the thing that kept us together was that we have 2 kids with narcolepsy and they had been diagnosed with narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a chronic sleep illness. And I wonder if having to navigate that, and Dad and I had went to counseling through that process.
Yeah.
I wonder if because of that, we didn't want, so our first narcolepsy diagnosis was really hard on our family, but our second one much better because we fumbled so bad on the first one, relationally in the house, that the second one was like a do-over.
Yeah.
It was like a healing in a way.
Yeah.
Sucks for the second kid, by the way, but you get the idea. It was like, okay, let's not let this impact our kids and our family the way like the first one did. And I think that by the time we were broadsided by your...
Yeah, completely.
But the way our family became a magnet unit is like we came together, not apart.
And I think a lot of the stuff that even I didn't hear about until like years later, the like, hey, let's not, like with Kiara, let's not bring up the whole face thing quite yet. Like that is not going to help her heal.
Yeah.
And conversations like that probably some I don't even know about.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's definitely ones I don't remember because I don't remember having that conversation, but I would have probably remembered her telling me that, like, I do remember her telling me about thinking that we're different and me thinking, well, wait a minute. We can't add a layer to Kellen right now.
Yeah, completely.
We need to take the layers off of Kellen as a family, not add any layers.
Yeah.
Which was also why I insisted you come to our house because I was worried about your dog.
Yeah.
Because you had a big, loud
German Shepherd who was a teen at that time.
Yeah, so he was just a big bull in a china shop, right? And he wouldn't have. We are also really worried, just physically, because you came home from jumping ahead again with a huge hole in your nose.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just gonna hit a pause here because I think that this was the hardest part of the story, though.
Yeah, completely.
Like this is nothing is hard from here on out.
There's one thing that was hard for me.
Past this?
There's one thing that happened, he said the next day, that is hard. Was so you're trying to have kids right now? That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That was
that. Well, you were worried about what Alec was going to say or think.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to hit pause on you becoming a mom.
Yeah. And of course my husband was like, yeah, of course.
That's fine. Because you needed to have surgeries. Like when he said this is not, we thought, I remember that night, we thought, oh, she's just going to need a surgery. And he was like, no.
This could be 13. This could
set yourself up for the long road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we leave with the thought of the long road.
Yeah.
And
we'll discuss the long road.
I think, yeah. But I mean, as far as like the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Are you proud of yourself?
For right now, talking about it?
No.
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, like, are you proud of yourself for...
Yeah. I think I have a lot of pride for my story.
Why? Specifically?
Just because... And this was something that, like, I got told that it didn't matter, but I felt like I came out of it still with, like... I worked as... Like, not worked, but I... tried my hardest to keep everything together. I did a pretty decent job of it. Like
I think that was when you said in episode 1 that it was good that it happened to you and not maybe one of your other sisters, or you're glad that it happened to you and not them.
Yeah.
In a way, I think that's true because of that.
Yeah.
Like it's good that it was you.
Yeah.
Because you did come out on the other side, I think, in a way less impacted perhaps than some of the others might have been.
Yeah. And just like I was saying before, like I don't think about it every day. I used to, but I don't think about it every day. And I think
like 4 years out, you don't.
Yeah, no. I'll think about it if we're talking about the story or stuff like that. But I have other stuff to think about. Like my whole life has completely changed because of it.
For the better?
Completely for the better.
Yeah.
Like
Macyn Stars wouldn't be started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it needed to happen to me almost. Like I think.
Yeah. I get it. Like it's like, did it need to happen to you? No. But it
was going to happen to someone?
Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I did think about that a lot coming out of it, that if it happened to that 10-year-old, he would be dead. Yeah. I was worried about that.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it
had to happen.
It had to happen.
And I think God knew. Well, like, obviously God knew. But it was planned in my storyline. Like,
well, God used it for good.
Yeah, completely.
But that's what the Bible says.
Yeah.
That God uses all things for good.
Yeah.
And that was part of it.
Purposeful pain.
We'll pain. We talked about that a lot.
Say that.
Oh, silver linings and purpose through pain.
Like I think you said it day of
Yeah.
You
what,
said
the silver linings?
Yeah.
Or the purpose? I think
you said purposeful pain because I came with silver linings a little bit later.
The next day.
Yeah, the next day when
No, it was the day after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking
the first day at my house.
Yes, because I was talking about. Well, I have my eyes. Well, I have the.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's wrap this. Macyn's jar was started because of this day.
Yes.
This day was
a crucial day.
But crappy. Like, I think it's okay to be like, that sucks, and it sucked that you had to go through that to get to here, but, you know.
Like, every time we're doing our elevator pitch, I, like, brush over it because I don't want to be a mood dampener.
Sure.
But
I think it's important that we took the time here, and I'm sure this is a long podcast. I mean, but we meant to do this. We knew we've never gone this in depth about it.
Yeah.
The guts, literally, of this has never been talked about in a public way.
Because even when we're doing like other podcasts and stuff and they want to know what happened.
Yeah, we kind of.
I don't talk about all the emotions through it, anything through it very much.
I don't think you ever have felt. I'm projecting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you've ever felt like a stranger
deserves it almost.
Maybe not deserves it, but like just like you'd guard yourself against that emotions in front of that person because like there's so much good that comes next.
Yeah.
That it's like if we sit back on the hard, how long do we have to sit in the hard to get you to the point where you understand the good?
Yeah.
We want to talk about the good. The good is like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we talked about this.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm more glad as your mom that you're able to talk about this.
Yeah.
And that I know that you can be whole. I was in this day, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And that was the greatest fear as your mom in that day was whether or not I was going to get you back. I didn't think I would. So you're back.
Ta-da!
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Macyn'sJars.org is the site. If you want to check us out, we donate fidget jars to hospitals, police departments, fire departments, and specialty offices. We're in 62 locations, and we have donated 36,000 jars in 15 months. That's our elevator sentence.
Yeah.
Macyn'sJars.org. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.